Greetings and salutations, friends and gamers of all stripes. My name is GM Dave, I am your man behind the screen, and today I'm playing Hexen. Well, that's what I'll be filling the screen with to my right when I'm not displaying visual aids in today's video anyway. Actually, friends and gamers, I'd like to start today's video by asking you a question. When you hear the names Witch Hunter or Inquisitor, what comes to mind? Go ahead and think on it for a few minutes. Take the time to mull it over in your head. You can even pause the video if you need a little bit of quiet time to think about it. I'll still be here when you get back. Have you thought about it? Good. Now what do you see? If you're anything like most tabletop gamers today, you probably have an image in your head of a stoic man or woman in drab garb with a heavy coat or cloak and a hat, usually either a tricorn or something tall and wide-brimmed. They've probably got a sword at their belt, often a longsword or a rapier, and likely have on them some means of fighting at a distance, usually in the form of some kind of pistol or a crossbow. This image is, by and large, a universal example of the iconography that comes with Inquisitors and Witch Hunters, and you can find examples of this all over the place nowadays. Film, video games, comics, tabletop games. If Inquisitors and Monster Hunters of some kind are involved, you'd be making a safe bet to assume that iconography is going to appear somewhere. Van Helsing sports the look, at least in his more modern interpretations. Peter Cushing's time as the famous vampire hunter during the Hammer horror era didn't adhere to the style, nor did Edward Van Sloan in the classic 1931 Dracula starring Bela Lugosi. That said, the look wasn't quite so ubiquitous at those times either, though it certainly did exist back then. More on that later. Video games are a prime place to find examples of this as well. World of Warcraft introduced their take on the look during the final raid of its Legion expansion, Antorus the Burning Throne. While not a perfect representation, the Tier 21 class set for rogues does feature many of the style's iconic notes, most particularly a variant on the heavy and high-collared coat through the chest and back piece, cuffed boots and gloves, and the tricorn hat. Bloodborne, the acclaimed horror game by From Software, the studio behind the Souls games, displays this style all over the place. From the hunter the player controls to a multitude of the game's creepy enemies, example of the iconic look permeates Bloodborne's gothic world. Even the Witcher series holds strong examples of this in their own witch hunters, who are most notably prominent in Witcher 3 when the player visits the free city of Novigrad. The look has even worked its way into the worlds of anime and manga, with characters such as Alucard of Hellsing sporting a variant of it in his iconic red outfit. But decent an example as Alucard can be, there's another vampire hunter that very much more closely fits this classic style.
Beautiful, just beautiful. I applaud you, stranger. Tell me what you're doing here. If we're in the same game, we should be friends. Tell me your name. Mine's Borgoff. Borgoff Marcus.
D.
Yes, my friends, even Vampire Hunter D sports a variation of the classic Inquisitor look. As strong as these examples are, though, nowhere is the style more clearly displayed than in the Warhammer universe. Whether it be the Inquisitors from the grim future of Warhammer 40,000 or the Witch Hunters from the dark lands of Warhammer Fantasy, the most prominent source of this classic iconography can almost certainly be traced back to Games Workshop's famed tabletop strategy series. Whether it be on the tabletop itself, in their video games, in their books, or any other form of their media, it's all but guaranteed that if an Inquisitor or Witch Hunter is involved somewhere in the story or game, they're probably going to sport most, if not all, of the classic elements of that look. But why did this look become so pervasive? What is it that really sparked the fire that led to this design being the go-to style for just about everyone who thinks of the Inquisitor? History doubtless plays some small part in this, as the clerical garb of arguably the most famous Inquisitors in history, those of the Spanish Inquisition, did feature some elements of this now iconic design. However, there is a historical group that I believe holds a much larger share of the credit, the Puritan Pilgrims of early America. Why do I say this? Well, that is due most entirely to a pop culture archon who, while he might not be so well known today, I feel is undoubtedly the grandfather of every element we think of when we think of an Inquisitor or a Witch Hunter. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Solomon Kane, one of two famous brainchildren of renowned pulp author Robert E. Howard, an author whose work has influenced your lives as tabletop gamers more than you may realize. Some among you may not recognize Howard's work by his name alone, and I'm certain many more of you aren't very familiar with Solomon Kane either. Hell, I myself only have a passing familiarity with the character who spawned the modern Inquisitor. However, without a doubt, we are all of us familiar with the other character, Howard Penn, the character who is often credited with shaping our modern notions of barbarians in fantasy, the one and only Conan the Barbarian. Yes, friends and gamers, the man who is responsible for shaping the core of what we see in fantasy games when we think of barbarians is the very same man who shaped the core of what we see when we think of Inquisitors and Witch Hunters. In fact, not only is Howard's character likely responsible for the initial shaping of what we consider to be the look of Inquisitors and Witch Hunters, Solomon Kane probably shaped the attitude players and writers alike often approach these characters with as well. As described by Howard, Kane is a tall, somber, and gloomy man of pale skin, gaunt face, and cold eyes, all of it shadowed by a slouched hat. He is also an incredibly pious 17th century Puritan, driven and determined in his quest to mete out justice against anyone or anything whom he feels strays from the righteous path of God. Sound familiar? It should, because that same sense of zealousness is visible in just about every Inquisitor character ever put into a game or on the page. And the real kicker? Not only is Solomon Kane the character who is most responsible for how we see Inquisitors today, he is at least 4 years the elder of his more famous and equally influential brother Conan. Where Robert E. Howard saw his earliest iteration of Conan published in Strange Tales of Mystery and Terror in June of 1932, Solomon Kane saw his first published released in the magazine Weird Tales in August of 1928. Not only that, there is some speculation that Conan's creation was due directly to the success Howard was finding with Solomon Kane, as the author reportedly sought to tap into the growing success of pulp stories of that style were finding in the early 1930s. And there you have it, folks. A brief exploration where the iconography of the Inquisitor we all know likely came from. What do you think about this idea of Solomon Kane being the father of our modern fantasy take on Inquisitors? Do you see merit to it, or is there another source that you feel is more likely? What's more, what did you think about this video essay format? Would you like to see more videos like this? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video and you'd like to see more of my content, please leave me a like and subscribe. Don't forget to click the bell notification icon while you're there, and make sure that the notifications are set to show all. Recently, YouTube has decided to make that a manual choice all users must make, as notifications now default to displaying only some of them for you instead of all of them. Furthermore, if you want more reliable notifications, be sure to follow me on social media, links in the description below. And with all that said, dear friends and gamers of all stripes, as usual, it is my sincere hope that you roll high, roleplay well, and game on.